Historically, the professional services model relied on a straightforward exchange. You possessed specialized knowledge the client didn't, and that asymmetry justified a premium fee. Now, artificial intelligence is rapidly closing that gap, accelerating baseline capabilities across virtually every sector. The precise technical information that used to take years to master and hours to bill for is now highly accessible. For top-tier practitioners, the immediate market reaction is a loss of differentiation. The expertise that used to set you apart has become table stakes. This triggers secondary effects, a loss of control in client conversations, and a severe erosion of pricing power. The foundational premise of the industry is fracturing. Getting paid strictly for what you know is undergoing severe margin compression. When a professional input commoditizes, the underlying economic value does not evaporate, it moves. Understanding the current market requires tracking this exact movement, a process known as value migration. The premium is shifting away from informational delivery and relocating into behavioral execution. For enterprise leaders and advisors, the most urgent question from clients is no longer about your data. It's a quieter question. Where do you add value now? Failing to answer this structurally leaves you competing against algorithms that are faster and cheaper. The practitioners who secure premium pricing moving forward will be those who track this migration and capture the value where it currently lives. This chart illustrates the two most common defense mechanisms in a commoditizing market. The first involves trying to outpace the technology by doubling down on technical frameworks and credential density. The second involves attempting to maintain market share by competing on price and reducing your fees. Piling on more logic and credentials fails because you are adding volume to a market already saturated with information. Content is abundant. Dropping your rates damages your perceived authority, signaling to the client that your expertise is exactly what the market says it is, a commodity. Both approaches ignore the reality of enterprise advisory. The high-stakes moments that dictate a client's final decision are rarely governed by pure logic. Those pivotal moments are driven by human emotion, corporate identity, and executive pressure. Defending the strictly logical layer of your service is a mathematical race to the bottom. To map where the economic premium has relocated, we look at the professional value stack. At the base is domain knowledge, what you know. Because AI can retrieve and process this instantly, this layer is compressing heavily, forcing the value upward. The middle layer is cognitive synthesis, how you think. It retains value, but algorithms are rapidly supplementing our ability to analyze and connect disparate data points. That leaves the absolute apex layer, behavioral engagement. This is exactly how you engage when the conversation matters most. Operating in this top tier is what separates the elite practitioner from the rest of the market. It is the only space where you can secure outsized returns. Differentiation has shifted away from data retrieval, moving instead to the real-time execution of human engagement under pressure. Mastering this apex layer requires treating human engagement as a rigorous structural discipline, not a soft skill. This 2x2 matrix represents the core behavioral framework used by elite practitioners in high-stakes environments. The horizontal axis is empathy. This is your ability to accurately read a client's identity and understand their underlying emotional state, a process focused on creating value. High empathy allows you to identify and create value in areas where competitors, blinded by pure logic, cannot see it. The vertical axis is assertiveness. This is your capacity to hold your ground, control the narrative flow, and protect your pricing parameters to claim value. It is the mechanism that allows you to capture your margin without damaging the underlying trust you established through empathy. There is a constant operational tension here. Over-indexing on empathy creates value you cannot capture. Over-indexing on assertiveness captures margin, but destroys the relationship. The optimal coordinate lies in the upper right quadrant, where high empathy meets high assertiveness. Balancing these two opposing forces in real time allows you to systematically engineer trust and maintain a premium position. Understanding a behavioral matrix in theory is very different from executing it live in a boardroom. In a high-stakes moment, your physiological reality changes. Cortisol and adrenaline trigger an amygdala response, degrading cognitive performance and sparking uncalibrated reactions. Because these responses are governed by the brain's autonomic system, empathy and assertiveness are specific, trainable neurological patterns rather than fixed traits. Traditional professionals struggle here because they spend hours rehearsing their data, but rarely rehearse their behavioral posture. A strategic framework holds no value if you lack the capacity to maintain it under intense relational pressure. The Elite Practitioner AI Coach functions as a dedicated behavioral rehearsal environment, prioritizing simulation over knowledge retrieval. The tool allows you to run rapid simulation loops, giving you a space to sense-check your approach before the critical moment occurs. Rehearsing the scenario lets you precisely calibrate your empathy to assertiveness ratio for specific client identities and specific pressures. In a market of democratized content, your edge is determined by how you show up in the conversation. Stop competing on the commoditized knowledge layer and begin mastering the human layer. Securing long-term pricing power and elite status rests on your ability to outbehave the algorithms.